They are coming in. And Jennifer Johnson. Here comes Ruth. Okay. Hello, hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Yeah.
All right. Elizabeth, I don't see anybody else in the waiting room. So it looks like we got a small group today. Karen is recording the meeting for us. So that way we can send it to the entire committee and have them be all on the same page prior to our next meeting. But I will turn it over to you and you let us know what you need from us as staff.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Hello, everyone. It's July 21st, and this is our Education and Professional Development Committee meeting. It's being recorded so that those members who cannot attend the meeting today can review what we've discussed. I'm going to go over the attendance. I did hear from several of the members that they couldn't be in attendance. Ashley Foster, Peggy Hawker, Angela Johnson, Tammy Kelly, and Janice Bates and Michelle Smith all reached out to me, let me know that they couldn't attend the meeting today. And I'm going to, well, I can see at this point who's in attendance, which is Jennifer Johnson. I see Ruth Post. And for some reason, I don't call out your name, please let me know. I see Pamela Smith, I see Dawn Abrahamson, and myself, Chair Elizabeth Garcia Beckford, and I will start the meeting. It's approximately 4:03 p.m. or in my time, Eastern time. And we're gathering today to review what the elephant guide. I had requested everyone to take a look at the guide after we were able to meet with Elizabeth Skinner, the academic leader with the university. And she went over, for those of you that were in attendance, the elephant guide. We wanted to pull from that guide aspects of what we would like to see in the Beyond MMC program. I'm open to hearing input and feedback from the members. I would like at this point to take those ideas along with the elephant guide framework to draft a potential Beyond the MMC framework to provide to the board for their review. Does anyone have any comments? I just want to note that I also see Tina Knapp and Angelica Avila present at the meeting.
I had a couple questions, if I could just backtrack a little bit. I missed the first meeting, so my first meeting was really going over the elephant guide from the last time, from 2 weeks ago. So I'm assuming the purpose of this committee is just to do the Beyond the MMC for this year, this program.
That's our main goal for at this time. It was carried over from the last year. They've been working on a Beyond the MMC framework, and they're trying to finalize it so that we can produce something that potentially could create the Beyond MMC program that they're trying to develop.
Okay, because when I started to look over the elephant guide, it almost looked like the section levels 4, 5, and 6 were divided into level 4 being almost like a mini associate's degree, 4 being a bachelor's, and then I'm sorry, 4, 5, and then the 6 being more of like a master's component where you're writing your reports and your papers and you're doing your presentations. Is that correct? Just so I have the right framework of what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else has feedback, but that's what I understood when Elizabeth Skinner was explaining the program to us.
The only thing that I'll add, Elizabeth, in there, if I may, is that you're exactly right, Jennifer. The way that we look at, meaning we IIMC look at this program, this is the United Kingdom's Institute program. So level 4 is what is considered their CMC Institute. Level 5 is their MMC Master Academy. And level 6 is kind of what we proposed looks like that Beyond the MMC type of program. So just to kind of give it some context on how IIMC looks at that, that's what we would use.
If they're looking at 6 years as a completion, is it 2 for each level, being 2 for level 4, 2 for level 5, and 2 for level 6?
Yeah, traditionally.
I read in that elephant guide that it was 3 to 4 years max, and they were allowing for that year, or maybe it's 2 years for if you miss or you have to interrupt your studies for, for a reason that it was like professional, personal, or medical circumstances. So I was looking at the breakdown of 4, 5, and 6, because when Elizabeth Skinner joined our meeting, she mentioned that they build off one off of the other, whereas we already kind of implemented a CMC program comparable to level 4 and an MMC program comparable to level 5. But somehow, although we're trying to create beyond MMC level 6, it would somehow encompass levels 4 and 5 aspects of that, even though we have something similar in place separately. And then the program would take, well, according to the Elephant Guide, their program is a total of 120 credits. So 60, well, let's see, I think they were, I wanted to look at the breakdown that as they gave credit for each of the courses that you were taking, that ultimately, similar to MMC, how we have to get a certain number of points to fully receive the certification. I don't know if I made that clear.
Now, are we just picking topics that we think should be components of each level? And will they be taught by local fellow clerks, or actually, college professors that we'll be reaching out to?
I think that was part of what we were discussing, who would be teaching the classes and what would be taught in the classes. We were trying to base them on leadership skills. That was what we discussed last year. I don't know if anyone has anything different to add as we're trying to finalize it. I was looking at the framework, and I was trying to, because I would like to prepare a document to get us started, and based on the input that I received today and the Elephant Guide, and send it out to all the members, and we can continue to revise it. Because at this point, I was hoping that more members could attend the meeting, and they could provide their feedback on what they want to see included maybe from the Elephant Guide into this framework to help, finalize it.
Thank you for catching me up.
Welcome. Does anyone have any comments, input about what should be included? Hi, Dawn.
Hi, it might be helpful if, just a suggestion, Elizabeth, at our next meeting, we invite the Institute Directors Committee. There's a committee of Institute Directors to our meeting, and share with them what we're looking at and the Elephant Guide to kind of get some of their input before we get too far down the road, and also so we can kind of progress and move this forward a little bit. Just a suggestion.
So what I'll do is I'm still going to prepare a document. It'll be a draft, and then everyone will be able to have the opportunity to look at it and add to it. But I'll also invite the Institute directors, and I'll also share whatever draft I come up with, so they understand what point we're at. And then when we have our next meeting, hopefully we can progress further along on what we're trying to finalize. Anyone else? I'm just looking.
I did review a little bit of the Elephant Guide, and I tried to look at what you said, which was levels 4, 5, and 6. And I was thinking some things can be condensed into possibly one course. On page 19 of the Elephant Guide, there was a list of modules, the community governance, the law and procedures, the finance. I mean, I remember from my bachelor's degree, finance was a great course that I took in public administration that really kind of had a broader horizon than just what the city clerk's budget was. So I think those are all great individual courses. Going into the following: community planning, management, and reflection. I was wondering if they could possibly, community planning and reflection, be condensed into one in their little group, into like one class or one core.
Okay.
And then for management, managing people and then managing projects be completed as like a separate one, which would be, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then 8 individual classes for the first 2 years. And I just did that from looking at the descriptions into what the modules were and how we could apply them.
Thank you for that. I was looking at the framework in accordance to what the Elephant Guide states, and it looked like their framework was built on development, knowledge, and understanding, cognitive skills, subject-specific skills, and then it broke down as modules for community planning, management, and reflection, like you mentioned, Jennifer. So I was going to use that as a basis to build the framework for the document that I'm going to share with any input that I received today. And I've made note of Jennifer's input. Thank you. I will also read, was looking for one of the members sent an email, they couldn't attend, Michelle Smith. She said that she reviewed the Elephant's Guide and she loves the program. She said, living in a state without an association or institute/academy, she's concerned about the strict completion timeline. She also stated we need to determine how to award the designation and whether or not there would be continuing education needs. And that was it. How do you all, would you all think about the timeline in the Elephant Guide for the program? Do you think it's appropriate length of time? I think 6 years.
I think that's generous, depending on your courses and your content and what's required. I mean, obviously there should be, if someone has a special exception, that should be allowed to be reviewed by the board.
Well, I'm confused. So is level 6 just a 2-year period? Because
I'm sorry, that was the question. I don't know if you're still speaking or we lost you. You said level 6 looked like a 2-year program.
yeah, I wasn't sure my audio was working.
Okay.
Is level 6 a 2-year program? Is each of the levels a 2-year program?
That's what I understood. With the allowance of an additional year, if you had a situation that met the criteria, like a personal or medical, professional, situation, and then they would extend the program for you for a year.
That's why I was thinking of the level 4 on page 19, if the modules, some of them could be condensed a little bit. It makes it more of, the basis, the framework, the building blocks to move on to level 5, which is shorter, maybe a little bit more intense, but less courses. And then moving into 6, it seems like it's more papers, presentations, almost like a master's degree to me. That's what I took from it, which is more independent work and doing it on your own.
Hey, Ruth, your audio is just very low. Most of us can hear, but it's just very low, almost like you're really far away from the microphone.
Okay.
How does everyone feel about that direction? What Jennifer just described as far as condensing the classes to create the framework? Is everyone in agreement, or do they have a different idea?
I think what may be better, Elizabeth, just to help this out here is the Elephant Guide is just a model that was similar to what IIMC was looking to do. It was something that's already in existence that we could refer to see how other associations were doing things. Doesn't necessarily mean that we have to take that program and create that ourselves. It's already in existence. So we don't want to recreate the wheel, but we also don't want to just copy the program and make it into something that fits for us. So I think in terms of Does the timeline work? I think it's more of a general question, not so much through the certain levels, but how long do we want this program that's beyond the MMC that's going to be IIMCs? What is a reasonable timeline for that? Not so much looking at individual courses being condensed, but do we want to make this a 2-year program, a 5-year program, a 10-year commitment? What is the committee making a recommendation on? So think a little bit bigger, more so than specific courses, condensing things into one, to think a little bit more of a skeleton that we're trying to create. Who is going to be organizing these programs? Who's going to be offering the education? How long is it going to take? How much time commitment are our members making? And then what focus do we want it to have on? So hopefully that helps a little bit take the elephant guide and just see how we can use what we like about it to create our own. I hope that's helpful.
Yes.
I would recommend a 4-year program with the option of extending it out to 6 on an individual preference or need.
I think the thing to keep in mind too is for this particular program, and President Pierce's goal was to offer some kind of continuing education to those who are having trouble seeking funding from their municipalities. They already have their MMC. So I don't know if we want to see it as a short-term program, because then once they've achieved that, then what do they do?
Well, if that's the case, why when you make the MMC or CMC program, you have to do like certification credits, X amount per year to keep it going, to keep it current, like some states do.
I know there's been discussion in the past that there were members that were opposed to having a requirement added that you had to continue or get recertified to keep your MMC or your CMC. So the beyond MMC would be there would be more time involved. And I don't know if we really determined if that was something that was going to require recertification at the end, or you know, that you have to take a certain number of classes to recertify yourself once you have the beyond the MMC.
I think that's an additional piece that we're trying to add to that skeleton, is that if you enroll in this program, you are either A, committing to every 2 years, collecting X amount of hours towards it, or you know that this is a lifelong commitment that you're going to be involved in. So that's one of the pieces of the skeleton that we have to put together, that the committee has to decide on.
So we'd have to discuss whether recertification would be every 2 years. I think we were all pretty much in agreement that a recertification should be required.
I think if you're going to use the word recertification, you're going to have a lot of problems.
I think
Because city clerks do not like the word recertification, because it makes them feel like that if they don't reach something within 24 months, they can no longer keep the education and have met their CMC or MMC. So I would prefer you not go down that road. IMC had some trouble early on, thinking it would help clerks continue their education by recertifying, and that did not work. I really thought that once we came up with a framework, whatever timeline that we put on this particular education, be it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years, that eventually an additional track may be developed that you would go through to obtain additional studies through something else. I don't know what that something else is, but you can only study what this is talking about, community governance. You can only study that for so long. You can only study governance, period, for so long, that people will get tired of what they're doing if there's no end in sight to provide them with a goal and an achievement. It's just my 2 cents worth.
Jennifer, just because you weren't present during former discussions, we had also talked about having tracks that would enable you to obtain your certification in, let's say, records management or in other like types of certification like that. But we moved away from that, and we were focused more on leadership qualities. And then we were trying to get a copy of this elephant guide to help us review, what we could potentially put into a Beyond the MFC program. So.
And I think that makes sense because I'm in Florida, and I mean, we have FIRMA and we have national records. So if there's things that you want to learn, you're able to do it, and I think if clerks want to continue to learn, a lot of us, not all of us, have tuition reimbursement programs. And that's why when I started looking at this, I realized associates, masters, you're in papers, you're in master's program with this. But like if someone wants to do records, they could join FIRMA. I have an employee right now that's at a FIRMA conference because every year she has to go to these conferences and continue to learn. A lot of it's the same information, particular to the state, but those programs are out there. So I think if you had to give them a timeline, it's 4 years with the opportunity for 6. So if clerks want to stretch it out to get the tuition or the availability to travel and learn through the budgets, then that would make more sense. And then after that, like Pamela said, approach, if there's a continued need, hopefully you have new commissioners by then, they have your travel policy, but if not, you can revisit. It's my bad joke of the day.
So with what Pamela said, we would, if it's a 4 to 6 year program and then an additional track, what would those additional tracks be? Are they going to be based on leadership skills, or we need to discuss what I get it would be comparable to the modules, I guess, in the elephant guide, not those specific ones that they had in there, but with that idea.
Well, Elizabeth, I don't believe we've come up with the first track to go forward and talk about the additional education. I mean, I think the information that we're looking at, it's on my screen, so I apologize for looking up, but the elephant guide is good, and Wales and England use that for the ability to provide their clerks higher education, which is an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree. That's why you see these levels. I think we need somebody that can help us, and maybe it is the institute directors, because the only way that who's going to teach this, number one, how much is it going to cost, number two, what are your requirements for your first 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and we haven't even gotten to that. We may have a framework from another country, but as far as bringing that down to what we may be looking at for us, we're not teaching it. And we don't have a framework that we can even suggest unless that's what you're going to put together for us. And is governance what we want to teach our clerks? If you look at the structure of the government here versus the structure of government in another country, it is very different. We don't look at governance in our communities the way that other countries do on a larger scale. So how are you going to reduce this, not to make it light or insignificant, but something that we could use? And quite frankly, I don't know how to do that.
What may
So
be
we-
helpful, everyone, just as an announcement, IIMC has hired a new director of professional development. Her name is Dr. B. Rodriguez, and she will be starting with us next week. So one of the first tasks that we as staff and IIMC would like to give Dr. Rodriguez would be to bring her into the conversation on the Beyond the MMC. So in terms of who is going to do this, maybe we need to start there. Dawn mentioned the Education Advisory Group, which is our group of institute directors. And I feel like that might be a little bit too quick if we bypass Dr. Rodriguez first and go right to the institute directors. So as a professional program developer herself, she may be the best person for us to have this type of conversation with. We're a little scattered and we're kind of all over the place. So maybe it is in the committee's best interest that we get her on our next call, which she will be anyways, but bring her up to speed. We will do that as staff over the next 2 weeks. Bring her up to speed and have her take a look at all of the replays, all of the documents that have been passed around, the proposals that have been made for the last 4 or 5 years, and really see what she thinks of it. Maybe she can help refine and hone us in a little bit closer to what it is that we're looking for before we start to involve the institute directors for one, but just to help us wrap things into a little bit more of a package with a bow that we could present to the institute directors. So just as an FYI, some thoughts. I would love the committee to chime in and let me know. I saw some heads nodding, but if we think that's a good idea and want to start there, we can. If not, let me know what else would be helpful. Yeah,
I like that idea,
Yeah.
because what I'm trying right now to determine is how to narrow it down based on the discussions we've had and the elephant guide. I still want to put something in writing just to draft something, even if it gets scratched or revised, but so that the direction is a little bit more clear. And the elephant guide, some of the components, I thought that was what the committee was interested in having as part of the Beyond the MMC. If that's not the case, and then we can discuss that further, and the new director, may be able to offer, suggestions that will help us, be more specific or narrow down what we want to do. I'm open to hearing. Go ahead, Dawn. Were you raising your hand? Go ahead, Dawn.
I agree with you, Elizabeth, but I also agree with Ashley. I think the committee is kind of lost. We're kind of going down a path, then we come back, and then we go out again. The elephant guide does give us some framework to work from, realizing that it is coming from another country. So their needs are going to be very different than what we have here in the United States, even in our states, quite honestly. So Ashley, I really like the idea of bringing the new education director in, and hopefully, because she's a professional educator and that's what she's hired to do, she can bring this to something that we can present to the institute directors and then ultimately to the board.
We can absolutely do that. I will be meeting with her on Tuesday of next week to give her everything from the education department that we're going to be bringing her into. So I'll give her full access to our Airtable, which has all of the previous meeting recordings, all the documents, all the links, and bring her up to speed. That way we can take a look at that in more detail with her and get her opinion. Yeah. So what we can do, I'm sorry, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was just going to say that I saw that Ruth shared that Oregon has a local government management certificate program. If anyone wants to take a look at that, she shared the link.
And there's quite a few other links like that that we collected throughout our conversations over the last 12 months. And I'll add this one too, Ruth, but there's other certificates out there that are already in existence. So we don't want to, like Jennifer said, let's not create a records management certificate when you can go and get one somewhere else. So Dr. Rodriguez will hopefully be able to help us out and bring us a little bit closer to what it is that we want. Ultimately, we want that document, and whatever you can put on paper now, Elizabeth, that we can say, pass that over to her and say, here's what we have so far. Here's what we know we want. Here's what we know we don't want. Let's help us bring it all together. We can get that over to her as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'll do that. And then I'll also refer to Sherry's document that was done before, because she tried to put down in writing some type of framework and direction. And we did. We went one way and then we came back another way. And then we have the elephant guide. And I'm not really clear as to what aspects, or as far as the modules or the different frameworks that they mentioned, which again was development, knowledge and understanding, cognitive skills, subject specific skills, under modules that were listed as community planning, management, reflection, really is what we're going for as far as the Beyond MMC program. So I'll put something in writing and I'll share it, and then we'll go from there and keep revising it until we get it to a point where we're all in agreement. It's something that can be presented to the directors. And I'm looking forward to meeting and hearing from the new director, Rodriguez.
And I
No.
know Jennifer also has her hand up, but before you chime in real quick, Jennifer, we do also need to keep in mind, everyone, that although the United Kingdom, England and Wales, this is their program, and we want something that's more relevant to the US, we are an international membership. So it may not just be US-based members attending. Majority of our MMCs are US-based members. However, if we make it 100% US focused, we are now excluding everybody outside of the United States. So just kind of keep that in mind when we're having these conversations, that we are international and we need to be inclusive of that as well. Jennifer, go ahead.
I know that IMC is great about reaching out to the membership. When was the last time there's been like a Survey Monkey or a quiz sent out just to MMC members about what they're looking for, what they want to get educated on, where they want to go with things? When was the last time those topics have been brought up to help mold maybe what the membership is looking for?
We did a survey in 2015, a general MMC type of survey, and the data was still inconclusive in terms of what they wanted. So last year, this committee did a survey and got a little bit more detailed information. I can pull up those survey results and send them out if they're not already in our Airtable. I'll take a look to see if they are. If they're not, I will add them into there. Jennifer, I private messaged you that link, so save that. That's our hub for all things education and professional development, okay?
Is there anything further anyone would like to comment on or discuss? As far as direction with the beyond MMC or whatever I can include in the draft that I'm going to try to prepare. I don't know that there's anything further. Ashley, looking at my notes.
I think we're okay, Elizabeth. If we want to close out the meeting, we'll wrap up the recording. I'll have Karen close that out. We'll get the recording sent out in the Airtable. That way everybody that wasn't here can link that. I will let you know when it's ready so you can share that. Maybe at the same time you share the link, Elizabeth, you start to have that document possibly that you're looking to put together, worked on, so we can include that in there as well. And then I will take all of that and pass it on to Dr. Rodriguez as soon as I see her next week.
Okay, and our next meeting is August 4th. It's at the same time. It's a recurring meeting time that we've established, and it's the same link that you joined with today. I'll keep sending that link out just in case, and I'll try to get that framework completed as quickly as I can. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for your input. And that concludes this meeting.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.